Oh yeah, it's about that time. Star Wars. Easily the most popular, iconic, and intriguing franchise ever made. I mean, it literally started its own religion. I'm not kidding. So Disney's The Last Jedi comes to theaters December 15th. But before that happens, let's take a look back on Star Wars The Force Awakens, why it left some people disappointed, how it fell into the new culture's trap of instant gratification, how that can hurt a story, as well as any political and religious themes involved. Okay, let's do this. You will thumbs up this video and subscribe to the Rebel Media. Force is strong with me. Okay, there's one reason why we have to talk about this, and that is because the movie is more than just a movie. It is so popular, it's in our culture, and the money it makes is outrageous. Okay, supposedly Star Wars The Force Awakens was made for about $230 million, which is absolutely insane. But it grossed over $2 billion with a B dollars worldwide in box office revenue, not including rentals, DVD sales, merchandise that is all over the place. I mean, it is literally... It's like a country's GDP. It's crazy. And J.J. Abrams was the perfect director to bring on board to revitalize this incredible franchise. He did terrific work on Mission Impossible 3, as well as the new Star Treks, specifically the second Star Trek, Into Darkness, which is one of my favorite sci-fi movies of the past 10 years. So since this movie's already been out for a year, let me warn you, a lot of spoilers ahead, alright? Let's get into it. As a movie, I'm going to give Star Wars The Force Awakens a 4 out of 5. Really, this is just a great popcorn flick. You get to go into the movie, be launched into this incredible world of Star Wars with aliens and humans and abilities and powers and this power struggle and the conflict of politics. It's all there. It's a lot of fun and a fast-paced, fun, colorful, bright, exploding movie. And J.J. Abrams did a great job of balancing this incredible spectacle with the intimate characters and what they're struggling with in it. And one of the most difficult things he had to balance was the nostalgia of the old films to bring it back to the new. This movie is almost beat for beat, plot point for plot point, the first Star Wars, which was actually the fourth in the series, Star Wars A New Hope, back in 1977. They also bring back old characters like Han Solo, played by Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher, who plays Princess Leia. It was great to see them on screen, and they try to balance these characters out. It was really cool to watch for all people. You get a little bit of reward from everyone. Like, they just did a good job of making everyone a little bit happy, though I don't think they fully fleshed out any of those. They just tried to hit the biggest market possible, and they did. Now, my critic review, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 because I have a lot of personal problems with this and why I'm kind of afraid for stuff coming out in the future. And to do this, let's go back to the very first Star Wars, why it was so much more magical and achieved more than any other sci-fi movie before it. It's because the world was so well thought out and grounded. Once you establish rules in any fantasy, you just can't break those rules. And the Force is an excellent example of this. It's not just like a superhero gets magical powers and he can just defeat everyone because he's got these abilities. It is something that is almost instinctive that you have to train for years and years and years and years and years and years to get up to through an apprenticeship with the Jedi. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to be a Jedi and I have these magical powers where now I can't relate to this character. You get to see them struggle and learn and earn these abilities throughout an entire movie that you're on board with them for. And if you recall from the first movie, Luke barely has a concept of this. The only thing he does where he really has the Force on his side is he just has to take one lucky shot through a hole, which, you know, even if someone did it 100 times, someone's going to hit it, but he was able to use the Force and was guided through it, all this kind of stuff. There was a few other abilities, too, that were going up against it, but what was so great was Darth Vader had been a student for years, and he's this terrifying figure that no one could beat. Even Obi-Wan Kenobi falls to Darth Vader, and it's just like he's just this opposing thing, which makes you really root for Luke because you're terrified the whole time. You want this guy to succeed as he's learning his abilities. In this movie, so many things just happen. It's like a microwave version of it. It's like they wanted to follow our culture of being like, okay, we can't... People today are going to be upset if we don't just get our hero to where they need to be right now. You know, and that was what's so great and earned about the other movies is because they still had to act as real people in that world we created. No person is just going to achieve that instantly. And in this movie, there was just so much instant stuff happening that nothing is earned. You never really care enough for the characters and you don't believe the story as much. Like one of the hardest things to do for a movie when you're writing is to get the people viewing it to believe this fantasy. You have to believe the world by obeying the rules you've set up. And to do this, you have the characters that live it out through it. So when a character does something that is unbelievable, even in that environment, you're like, I don't believe the character. I don't like the character as much, and then I'm not as invested in this world because Well, how would they be able to do that? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just the same thing that I feel like has happened in this movie. There's a term called Mary Sue in film, and Mary Sue is basically a character that is perfect at everything. Like, they can do things they shouldn't be able to do, and they're just like automatically are the best at everything, and so you don't care about them. They're called a Mary Sue. And there's a lot of Mary Sues in this movie. Specifically, let's look at Finn's character. You know, a guy that's born in the wrong place at the wrong time, in the wrong organization, and we should like root for this guy just to get out of it. He could be a really cool character who switches sides and can play an important role. However, they thrust this character into the spotlight as a true hero carrying the story when it's so unearned. Finn in the movie is really just a selfish coward who lies and risks other people to get what he wants, to get this fulfillment and get free. Who will then even still lie at the end of the movie when the whole world and universe is riding in the balance because he wants to save one girl that he met. Even then, 2 scenes before, was a coward who left her to go fend for herself because he wanted to just escape and go to the side of the galaxy. Not only doesn't change, but all of a sudden he cares a lot and doesn't act the same. It makes 0 sense. He also breaks the rules of the character. If you remember anything about this series, is that the Jedi are the only ones that wield these lightsabers. It takes years and years and years of practice to do so. Literally, Finn just picks up a lightsaber when Han Solo is there and has been around Jedi his entire life. Just Finn picks it up and starts fighting off stormtroopers, even though he was the worst guy, was literally a plumber on this Death Star. And then he even fights the greatest antagonist in the movie at the time, who is this overlord and overpowerful force-wielding guy. And all of a sudden Finn is in there swinging a lightsaber when he doesn't use the Force, he's not a Jedi, and he's just there fighting him. Why? Like, it was so unearned and ridiculous. Like, John Boyega did a terrific job just playing the character, but his character didn't fit in what they were trying to get him to do. Now, Rey, I love Rey, and Daisy Ridley did a phenomenal job. I can't wait to see what they do with Daisy in the future. However, her character did get knocked for being a Mary Sue because she was pretty much just good at everything. However, she gets, you know, a little bit of leeway in this because she does have the Force. And you love her character throughout it. They just sped it up, I feel like, way more than they should have. Like I said, Luke struggles for 3 movies to try to become a Jedi. Rey in this movie, in just a few scenes, all of a sudden can master the Force and is fighting toe-to-toe with a Sith Lord, like in the woods. When you saw Luke fail and fail and fail for so long, you were terrified of him actually fighting him. It gave you stakes. It made you care about Luke. And this one, you know she's probably going to be all right because she just like is taking down this dude that would normally have taken 3 movies to do so. Another thing they did was they kind of ruined the old characters that we spent literally decades learning about, all their complex relationships, all the moments earned with them. They kind of fizzle those away so you can insert these new characters and make you care about them. Specifically, after, spoiler alert, Han Solo is killed and Leia is devastated, Chewie has lived his entire life with Han Solo. They're like best friends the entire movie, would take a bullet for each other at the drop of a hat. Chewie, when they get down there, Leia is staying there by herself, and instead of Chewie and Leia having a moment like, oh my gosh, this guy that we've loved our entire life is gone, you just have Daisy Ridley, who they met 8 hours before, going up and hugging her like somehow she knows what she's going through. I mean, there was just a lot of moments of this where you're trying to force these new characters in there in moments that were not earned. So it leaves the audience not believing it, and you miss moments that would have really been impactful. The writers and the producers, they were doing this to try to make you care about what was going on instead of letting you care. There's a huge difference in just forcing people together and having genuine chemistry and complex relationships form between other people. Now for my faith and values, and I'm also going to slide in some politics in this. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Now, there's a very strong theme of being selfless and laying down your life for others. However, there is also a theme of moral dualism in the movie. It's confusing because the movie is so much just a good versus evil, take down the bad guy. Even in the Force, they speak ad nauseum about the balance. There needs to be a balance to the Force, the good and the evil, the dark and the light. Now, this would infer that there's at least an equality of perspective on both sides. Like, you can see yourself being the good guy, that we're on the right side of things for both sides. If it has to be a actual balance. If there's no right and wrong, it's just like a moral dualism where, okay, we're just on different sides of the spectrum here trying to do the right thing. Which is confusing because in the movie there's also a redemptive element. People that fall into darkness can be redeemed back into the light. So there has to be, in this case, a clear wrong and right. And that really isn't a balance. That's saying there is a right and a wrong instead of just this moral subjectiveness, which our culture has kind of fallen into, where if I just believe this is right, then it's right. And there's no real right and wrong. But in the movies, there is a clear right and wrong. However, in their religion and what they believe almost, there has to be a balance. And these are both somehow morally justifiable if you're on different sides. It kind of doesn't make sense. Now, from a biblical perspective, the very first thing God gives us is free will. And He doesn't want us to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because once you are aware of it, once you have the knowledge of it, then you're also responsible from knowing good from evil, from right from wrong, because there is a right and wrong. And in James 4:17, the Bible says, whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. Now there's some really interesting political elements of this in the movie because a lot of people would think they're on the right side of the good and evil in this movie, however that is not the case. Now there's some nice themes in this movie of conservatives fighting against a totalitarian regime. The First Order in this movie are the antagonists, the villainous group in the entire movie, and they want to control everyone. And because of many buzzwords in the media, people might think this might be a far-right regime. But that couldn't be farther from the truth of the situation going on screen. Let's just look at the heroes of this movie. All the protagonists in the movie are people that are rebels. They just want to live their own life. The only rule is just don't kill each other, do what you want to do, but everyone gets what they earn. They're all living their own lives. And it's like, we're just going to do our own thing kind of thing. We're going to fight against these people telling us what to do. These characters aren't provided food. They're not given free health care. They're not just like slaves to the government. They just want to live their own nice little lives. Now, the First Order in the movie is so modeled after the Nazi Party, it's crazy. Like the speaking scenes, they even do like a howl in it kind of thing. It's a fist, like it is like exactly like the Nazi Party. And they act like the Nazi Party, which was the Nationalist Socialist Workers' Party, not the Libertarian Right Party. Now in the First Order, you are assigned a job that you must do. You can't work up. There's not like any stormtrooper unions to get you better wages. No one is really paid. They're all just given food and they're taken care of with health benefits and equipment. You serve the regime, you work for the state basically, and you get what you get, and that's just what you're gonna have. But hey, you get some free stuff and you're taken care of, and we're all equal in this new party, right? Right? Yeah. So all these hippie leftists in the street complaining about stuff, really what they are is the First Order in disguise, because this is what your government is gonna look like. You're not the Jedis who just want everyone to live their own life and be free to do what they want. No, they want control of everything. Basically just bigger government, less rights, less freedom. Yeah. So if you guys have not seen Star Wars The Force Awakens, please go check it out. It's a really fun ride, super enjoyable, and I cannot wait to see what Disney does with Star Wars The Last Jedi. Hopefully they just let us enjoy it instead of making us enjoy it, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm Ben Davies with The Real Rebel Review. Alright, if you like this video and others like it, please consider becoming a premium member to The Rebel. That way you'll have first access to Pure Hollywood and the entire Rebel lineup.